Hey friends, my name is Richie and welcome back to my channel, Gender Not Found. So I wanted to start this earlier, but I had a very stressful time I, with a plunging session. If you guys saw my previous video, I was plunging away at the freaking toilet and it didn't work. Eventually I had to go next door and ask a neighbor for help. And then I was just taking a break after that to cool down and to kind of just, chill for a bit because I needed some downtime after that situation. And also, I was waiting for my Tylenol to kick in because I ended up with a stress headache after all of that. Like, after my plunging, I had this headache, and I could tell it was a stress headache because I didn't wake up with it, and it only appeared after I had that super stressful session with the toilet situation, and oh, it was all just very. Anyway, it is almost 6 p.m. by this point, um, and I'm supposed to text my mom for the call at 9, so I have a few hours to record until I might not record for the entire 3 hours, or I might record for the entire 3 hours. Who knows? I guess we'll see. But I did want to do at least a couple of chapters of A Guardian Angel because we have not read this book in literally months. I guess that could be said for all of them, but I have not read anything since I moved into the new place, and I've been kind of settling in. And over the last week, especially, I haven't been uploading nearly as much as I would like to. I think I've done like 2 uploads in the last week or so. My mom's been away on a trip, and I have been just doing some very, I've been stressed out. I wanted to do daily uploads starting on, I think, the second after my mom left, but that did not work out the way I thought it would due to some health issues, which I will be taking care of because when my mom gets back in a couple of days, I'm going to tell her I want to go ahead with the surgery. And also, I mentioned that nerve that you can sever that connects and is responsible for the postnasal drip. So I am going to take that information to the doctor and say, hey, I want to, I want to get this done. What would that take? And hopefully, I'm going to get it all done in one go and I can get the postnasal drip dealt with and also get my nose because there's a narrowing in the sinuses. That's the problem. That's what they found on my MRI on the scan. So I'm going to get that dealt with too. There's a narrowing, and they are going to make it bigger, I guess. I don't know what the proper medical therapy terms or whatever. It's a medical thing. I don't know. They're gonna make the airways bigger so I can breathe better. And if I can get them to sever the nerve for the postnasal drip at the same time, that'll be perfect. Then I don't have to have two different surgeries, two different COVID tests. Those are still ongoing. But so I'm going to try and get that all done in one go, and also I am going to be out of commission for a while after that surgery. Um, I'm not sure when it is, honestly, because at this point it could take months to get booked in for the surgery. It I know it took months the first time, and honestly, my surgeon might even be back from maternity leave by then. So I will keep you guys posted, but I am gonna have some bleeding from the nose and mucus and other stuff just running out of my nose. They said it's gonna bleed for a little bit and then it's gonna become like a clear liquid and then there's gonna be no liquid. So I'm gonna ask some questions and let you guys know when that's happening and how long I'm gonna be out of commission for. I don't want you guys seeing me like that on camera, so I'm just gonna not record. So it could be a couple weeks. I don't know how long it's supposed to take for that to happen. So I just started recording this video and I'm realizing how hungry I am because it's about dinner time and I'm trying to go on a diet where I'm trying, well, it's not exactly a diet, it's just I'm trying to it's just I'm trying to first of all eat less chocolate, and second of all, only eat when I'm hungry, so that way I'm not like self-medicating with food. And part of the things that I want to use for that is YouTube. I think that would help a lot. But I've been dealing with a lot since I moved into the new place. That's why I haven't been recording nearly as much as I wanted to, especially on the last week or so. Especially on yeah, it's been like a week, I think. Yeah, it's been about 8 days probably. So also my mom's getting back in 2 days. I'm gonna see her on Tuesday. She's coming over to wash some dishes and take my laundry and stuff. I can't wash my own dishes. It's a mobility thing that has to do with my autism, and I really don't want to get into it, but I don't want but, you know, the reason I don't want to get into that is because I don't want you guys to be little dicks in the comments and say things like, "Oh, you have your mom washing your dishes. Why don't you figure out how to do it on your own?" You guys just don't get it, okay? Also, these nuts on Hayden, wherever you are, I don't know if you're busy or if you just decided you don't like my channel anymore or whatever, but wherever you are. Anyway, so I'm actually gonna go get something to eat, and then I'm gonna read a little bit, and it's gonna be instantly for you guys because I'm gonna just put the two clips together. So I will be right back in, I don't know, 20 minutes, but for you guys it'll only be a second. And just like that, I'm back, guys. So it was like, my break was about 20 minutes long for me, but it was instantly for you guys. Um, so going to your neighbor's house and asking them to if they have a toilet plunger that they can lend to you or something like that is just about one of the most embarrassing things you can ask, because it's like admitting that you just took a big enough dump in order to clog the toilet. And that might not be it in all cases, but in my case, it really usually probably is, because, like I said, it's only been happening over the last, like, week and a half, and also my IBS has actually been, very different over the last week and a half. It seems like ever since I took that Restorelax, my, bowel movements have changed. But anyway, enough about poop. We're gonna dive into the story. And you know what? I did just switch to Costco toilet paper, so I can use a lot less of it because they have like this quilted padded toilet paper that's better than the normal toilet paper that I buy, and I can use a lot less of it. So my hope is that that will help with the toilet clogging, um, because you know, I can use less of it. So I did use a little bit of the toilet paper when I went to the bathroom the last time I went to the bathroom. Um, so my hope is that that's going to help with the clogging issue because I can use a lot less of it, and but I think it's mainly my poops that are the problem. Hang on. Okay, I just took a second to put my necklaces on because it's been so long since I recorded anything of substance that I forgot I was wearing my necklaces during recordings. But they're back now. Anyway, I'm gonna try and record at least one or two chapters. I want to record about 2 chapters in this video. Um, I'm just trying not to make the videos too long because I have much slower internet than I did at my mom's place, and it's fine for shorter videos, but once you get up to around an hour, hour and a half, it gets a lot longer. Like I said, it took almost an entire day to upload that 1 2-hour video that I posted a few days ago with, all 5 chapters of A Guardian Angel, so I'm trying to record less. Um, so, I would like to record for 3-ish hours. So we're gonna try and do that, but I'm just gonna put the content into shorter videos. So I'm gonna put maybe a chapter or two in each video, and then I'll upload that. Okay, let's get going on this because you know what doesn't help for making shorter videos to because I have slower internet, is making an 8-minute long intro. Yeah, that's a good idea, Richie. You should totally do that anyway. So also I was thinking about changing my channel name too. I really love the current channel name that I have here, but I was thinking about maybe changing it to Obscure NB. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. Do you like it? Or I don't know. Okay, let's get to reading. So we are on chapter 48, and I did start reading this a little bit before, so I kind of know how the first part of it goes. Um, I mean, and it's kind of depressing, but honestly, this whole book is kind of depressing. That's what it is. Like, it's it's up and down. Like, there's really good stuff and there's really bad stuff. And, this kid's already had cancer, so what else could happen? I don't, there's not a lot of stuff that's very bad, as bad as cancer, especially in books and stuff. Okay, I can already feel the pooping. I just, I had, I had one meal and now I have to poop again. Guys, this is usually, before I took the Restoralax, I was only pooping once a day. I think that Restoralax did something to my system because now I, I I probably poop like 3 times a day after each meal and then, okay, well, alright, we're gonna read this and then I'll decide if I'm gonna go to the bathroom after this chapter or not. But I want to get through at least one chapter, so because we haven't read this in forever, and I'm really looking forward to this, and I want to see how it goes. I know how the first part of it goes, but I want to see how the rest of it goes. Okay, so um chapter 48, Heartache. 2 months later, and this is 2 months after the last chapter. Marshall was sick for the fourth time in 2 months, and he had a gut feeling that something was truly wrong with him again. He had a fever for a week straight, the fatigue was coming back, his lymph nodes were swollen, and he was losing weight, a lot of weight. It didn't help that holding anything down was next to impossible. He didn't tell anyone that he set up the doctor's appointment, and he'd been hiding his sickness as best he could around his friends, and lately had only been communicating to Fiona through text messages, only because he knew she'd be able to hear in his voice that something was wrong, and if she asked, he would have told her everything. The drive to the doctor's office was a bad idea. His fever was getting higher and his vision was blurry. Marshall had barely made it in one piece. Luckily it wasn't far, though. He had to pull over more than once. Upon entering the office, the secretary was startled by the sight of him and ushered him ahead of the other patients waiting. He was seen by the doctor after only a few minutes, and they began a battery of tests, drawing blood, throat cultures before asking questions, all the questions he'd been so familiar with. How was he feeling? Where did it hurt? When did it start? What was the level of pain? The questions went on and on and on. Wait. The questions went on and on and on. Okay. He'd been told, more warned than anything, that having had his skin cancer, that he would be more susceptible to other forms, that the chances of him developing another kind would increase ex- expon- exponentially and would most likely show within a year or so. He knew when they asked for a PET scan what the doctor was checking for. Without question, Marshall swallowed the pills given to him to lower his fever, and he was put on an IV riddled with chemicals. Those chemicals would stick to the abnormal cells, the cancer cells, and light up on that scan like fireworks on the 4th of July. It was then that the wait began. Cool. I mean, not cool that he has cancer, but cool how the pills work. That's really interesting. More than an hour he sat waiting for the drugs and the liquid to be absorbed, and all the while he was hoping for a miracle that he knew would not be given. The nurse came collecting him, and after putting on the hospital gown, he lay on the machine that did the scan as he closed his eyes. He didn't know how long he'd been in there or how long the scan had taken, but once he was dismissed back to his exam room, Marshall dressed, realizing that he either needed a belt or new jeans, because his were a bit too big on him. Oof. Marshall felt sick. Marshall felt sick to his stomach as his head pounded, and it wasn't just his illness, it was nerves too. He waited for the doctor to come in with the results of the scan, and 20 minutes later, his ears picked up the man's heavy footsteps, and with a knock on the door, he entered. Marshall sat for the longest time, not looking at the man, until finally he opened his eyes. From one look, he knew that the news wasn't good. "I'm so sorry, Marshall, but you've had a recurrence." Closing his eyes, Marshall let out a shuddering breath. "How bad is it?" "You're positive for cancer cells in 2 lymph nodes. Luckily, they're both on the same side. We need to biopsy at least one of them to see what we're dealing with. I'll order a biopsy and I'll have the nurse bring you down." "What stage does that count as?" he asked, staring at the doctor intently. "Stage 2, maybe early 3, I can't be sure. I need to order the biopsy now," he said, walking from the room. So this was it. He was going to die from cancer, or at least be very sick for a really long time. Marshall never thought he'd be happier that he'd finished his part on the CD already. However, he and Fiona that he and Fiona had done their duet, because if he was feeling as bad as he was with the late stage 1 that he'd had last time, Marshall knew that living with this was going to be so much worse than before. He was like a ticking time bomb, and it felt that at any moment his body would betray and kill him. It was doing so now. How was he going to tell his friends? How was he going to tell his mother? More than any of that, how was he going to tell Fiona? How could he tell all of them that his success of being cancer-free only lasted 7 months? He didn't want Fiona to see him like this. He couldn't let her give up her life to take care of him again. She was in school and had a job. She couldn't lose that. The only thought that came to mind was that he needed to push her away, that Fiona was emotionally safest from him by being as far away from him as humanly possible. Hell, they were already almost 100 miles apart, so distance wouldn't be the problem. If she thought he was healthy and he pushed her away, then he could just be a jerk and she wouldn't have to worry about him dying. But if he was sick and pushed her away, then she'd still call him a jerk, but she'd want to be here with him, and Marshall didn't want her to see that. To protect her, Marshall needed to push her away, and there was only one way left to push away from her, and that was emotionally. She couldn't see this or know about it because it would kill her. She'd changed so much just by taking care of him the last time, and Marshall didn't want to see the rest of her change. He was still contemplating how he was going to go about keeping her at a distance when his phone began vibrating, and clearing his voice and trying to sound as not sick as possible, he answered, not checking the caller ID. "Hello? Oh, hello? Hi, Marsh." It was Fiona. Of course it would be Fiona. "Hi, Fiona." Glenn was quiet for a moment, and when she responded, he could hear the worry in her voice. "Marshall, is everything okay with you?" she asked carefully. "Everything is just fantastic, Fiona. Why?" he said with an edge to his voice. I, I just, you sound like something's wrong," Fiona said tentatively, sounding hurt. This was good. All he had to do was just keep pushing her away. "Nothing's wrong." Short, blunt, and to the point. He was the world's biggest ass, and he knew it. "Is it a bad time? Maybe I can call you back if you're busy." "Yes, Fiona, it's a bad time, and don't bother calling back. I'll call you," he said abruptly, hanging up the phone, not even waiting for her to respond. He knew that would hurt her feelings, but if he could push her away now, she would hurt less because of him in the future. He was saving her this way. He was hurting her because he didn't want to hurt her. The irony was not lost on him. The nurse came in shortly after to bring him down to the biopsy room. Alright, I'm gonna take some Pepto-Bismol and see if that does anything. One sec. Luckily, I always keep Pepto-Bismol pills around because I have IBS, so sometimes I get like crampy, and it's not very bad this time. Like, but it's still there. I can feel it's a little uncomfortable, so I'm hoping that'll help. We're gonna read the rest of the chapter now. I just needed a short break. So, I just needed to take some of the medication, and it'll kick in a few minutes, and then I'll feel better. So, I think just from the content, you guys can tell what's gonna happen next. Okay. Um. Okay. Sorry, guys. I just hoping that I can feel better. I gotta use the bathroom after this chapter. Marshall went home with a bandage just above his collarbone where the biopsy had been taken from. He would know what he had in a day or two, and tossing his keys on the counter, Marshall went upstairs and flopped on the bed. Grabbing his phone from his pocket, Marshall was just about to shut it off when it began ringing. It was Fiona again, and he didn't blame her. She'd called him earlier that morning, and now it was early evening. He put her to voicemail, and then shut his phone off, tossing it into the drawer and closing it. His body was demanding sleep, and closing his eyes, Marshall gave into it. It was dark when the sound of the house phone ringing woke him. Rolling over, Marshall lifted the phone off the receiver. "Hello?" he asked sleepily. "Marshall, are you mad at me?" It was Fiona again, and she sounded upset. "No, Fiona, I'm not." "Marshall, please, just tell me what's wrong." I'm sorry. Glob, Fiona, I'm sorry. Fiona, something's come up and we should, listen, it's not you, it's me, and he'd actually heard her gasp, and the sound cut him like a knife. "Marshall, are you breaking up with me?" The blonde breathed, and even so, Marshall could feel the hurt radiating off her. Closing his burning eyes, he tried so hard to say the word that would ultimately push her away from him, and thus save her from any more emotional pain he could possibly ever cause her for the rest of their lives. "Yeah," he said quietly after the longest time. "Why?" I just, I really have to focus on me right now, Fiona." That was a lie. "But that's not an excuse at all. Tell me the truth, Marshall." "I just have a lot going on in my life, Fiona. I can't deal with everything, and a relationship on top of it," he said, his voice breaking. Now she let out a sob, giving in to her tears and crushing his heart. "Just get mad and hang up. I can't listen to you cry. Please just get mad and hang up." No such luck. "What did I do wrong? What can I do to fix it?" she asked in a strained voice, trying so desperately not to break further. "What aren't you telling me? What happened?" "Nothing. You can't fix it, Fiona. You didn't do anything wrong. It's my life and my problems." That has, like, he said, listening as she cried on the other line. "I'm sorry," he said, hanging up the phone. "I'm sorry. Glob, Fiona, I'm sorry." That had seriously killed him. Marshall knew he'd hurt her. He hurt Fiona badly with that, and all he wanted to do was call her back and apologize and beg for her forgiveness, but he didn't. He wouldn't let himself. Lying there, Marshall thought over and over again how he'd done what was best for her, how he couldn't hurt her unintentionally anymore, and how she wouldn't hurt because he was sick again. Instead of calling her like he wanted to, Marshall solved his dilemma right there and then, as he ripped the cord of the phone from the wall, flinging it across the room. Closing his eyes, he begged any higher power to let him sleep for as long as humanly possible without dying, and for the first time, his wish was granted as he passed out. And thus ends the part that I've already read, and I think I need to take a break so I can get to the bathroom. I will be right back with the rest of the chapter, and then I'll film whatever I can after that. It's only 6:30, so I still want to record for a while longer, but I have to use the bathroom. I don't feel very good, so I'm gonna take a short break. I've definitely felt worse, but I still feel like I should use the bathroom, and the Pepto-Bismol actually just kicked in. But I'm gonna use the bathroom anyway, because I feel like I'll feel better after I go to the bathroom. I'm sorry, I know I talk about poop a lot, but it's one of my health issues. It's IBS. This is what I deal with on a daily friggin' basis. So this is just what happens. Okay, I love you guys, and I will be right back with the rest of the chapter. So okay, I'm gonna just stop talking and use the bathroom. Okay, so I'm back from my bathroom break, which turned into a watching TV for about 40 minutes break, and you know what? We're slowly getting back in. So, We're slowly getting back into things. If I can post one chapter a day between today and Wednesday, I'll consider it a win because I think that's a decent goal to set for now until, just until. Anyway, I think that's a good goal to set. Anyway, I'm gonna, okay, keep reading the, the video, keep reading the book. Okay. Okay. So, alright. Fiona was a wreck and she wouldn't tell her parents why. She didn't believe it. She couldn't believe it. Marshall had broken up with her. It was the very next day after, a Saturday, and Fiona knew that FP would be leaving his grandmother's house tomorrow to go home Sunday. But she needed to talk to Marshall today, and after calling both his house phone and cell phone without an answer, she knew she had to go and see just what the hell was going on with him. Sitting on the front steps of her house, she waited for him. FP always took his Nana food shopping before he left to go home. So, fiddling with the blue diamond-studded sapphire ring on her finger, she watched and waited for the familiar truck to come down on the street until finally she spotted it. Fiona waited for them to park before she walked over. "Hey, Fifi, Fiona, what's wrong?" the redhead asked urgently, and glancing inside mirror, Fiona understood why. It was clearly obvious she'd been crying, and her lack of sleep didn't help with her looks. Come on, man. I need you to take me to Marshall's house today. I need to talk to him, she said firmly, watching as his eyes widened. Are you okay, Fiona? No, I'm not. I need to talk to Marshall. I'll give you gas money. Hell, I'll give you enough to go down there, come back, and go home again. I don't care. I just need to talk to him, Ignitus. Okay, I'll let my Nana know I'm dropping you off, okay? Yeah, Blonde said, walking back across the street and entering her house. Her mother had gone to work and her father was in his office. Dad, I'm going out. I'll be back tonight, the blonde said, pausing only when he called after her. Are you sure you're okay? You're really worrying Ellen and I, and we're concerned for you, sweetie, Steve said, watching Fiona look at him from near the door. I don't know if I'm okay, Dad, but tonight we'll both have our answer, she said softly before walking down the hall. Just be careful, Fiona. I will. She walked out of the house with her purse and sweatshirt on, being sure to grab her keys off the hook, immediately spotting FP waiting out front, the truck running. Climbing in, the two drove down the street, heading towards the highway. So what's going on, girlie? FP asked softly. I'm gonna punch Marsh in the throat, that's what's going on, Fiona snapped, looking out the window, her arms crossed. Whoa, what? Did you guys get into a fight or something? He asked quickly. Something like that. I really don't want to talk about it, okay? She could feel the lump in her throat, and taking a deep breath, she let it shakily out. Okay, we don't have to talk about it, he said softly, turning on the radio as they continued along the highway. Neither speaking again. They arrived in front of Marshall's house almost 3 hours later. Do you want me to wait here? Ignitus asked, looking at the blonde who shook her head. No, I'll call you when I'm ready to go. I don't know how long this is going to take. Okay. FP watched as she climbed out of the truck, shutting the door behind her as she headed up the walkway before he drove off. Pulling out her keys, Fiona unlocked the door and walked into the house. It was quiet, much more so than she was used to, and it was eerie. Despite knowing he would be home, Fiona felt as if the house was just empty. Dropping her things in their usual spot, Fiona walked through the house before clearing the first floor, and deciding he would be in his room, the blonde silently climbed the stairs, and the moment she reached for the knob of the door, it opened, and she was met with a surprised, sleepy-eyed face staring at her in shock. Her eyes filled fast with tears, and the first thing Fiona did was slap him hard. Marshall just stood there taking the hits, knowing he had certainly earned them. He had made her cry. She was still crying. Now she pushed him. She was yelling at him, but he didn't even register what she was saying because he was in such a shocked daze. Never had he imagined that she would show up here, that she would find her way down here, especially after he'd broken up with her. It was then that he realized while she was physically fighting with him, she was also fighting for them. Fiona wanted to keep their relationship as much, if not more so, than he did, and Marshall never thought that it was possible because he loved her so much, but it seemed that she loved him even more than he'd ever thought possible for anyone to do so. Now it hit him. Not a pun, even though it felt like Fiona was trying to beat him to death currently, as he leaned against the bed from backing away from her blows. Fiona would never allow it. She would never allow herself to be pushed away from him because she loved him so much that it was unacceptable for such a thing to happen. Ever. Despite her hits, despite her completely and justifiably flipping on him, Marshall pulled Fiona close and kissed her hard, because after everything, the diagnosis, the half-assed breakup, and having the sense beaten into him by this beautiful girl who loved him with such a profound depth, something more than he'd possibly ever could have imagined. She was here for answers, here for him, and he was so happy to see her. Fiona struggled before her body practically melted against his, but her arms still hit him. She was punching his chest until she just clenched onto his shirt tightly with one hand. The other she still wanted to slap him again with, but the moment she touched his heating cheek, she felt the tears there, and breaking the kiss, she spoke. "Talk to me," Fiona said, looking him right in the eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt you more than I had to, and I thought that this would hurt less. I'm so sorry, Fiona. I'm sorry. There's no happily ever after with me. There never could be for you," Marshall said, his thumbs wiping the tears from her cheeks. "Marshall, I love you. Just tell me why." "I know, and I love you. That's why I tried to push you away. I'm a ticking time bomb, Fiona. My body is a time bomb that's just waiting to kill me, okay? And I wanted to keep you safe from that, but pushing you away, it won't work, will it?" he asked softly, watching as Fiona shook her head. "No, it won't. Please, tell me what happened, Marshall. What made you do this?" Fiona said, the hurt obvious in her voice. "Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma." "What?" she breathed. It sounded so familiar, but what was it? She tried desperately to remember when Marshall spoke up again. "I've been sick for weeks. I can't hold anything down. The fatigue is back, and I've been losing a ton of weight, so I called my doctor," he said, pulling the collar of his shirt down and showing Fiona the bandage near his collarbone. "No. I did a biopsy yesterday morning, and I found out 3 hours ago that I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Pretty much the cancer didn't go all the way away. Some cells survived, few enough to slip under the radar, and they caused an infection in my lymph nodes. The infection in my lymph nodes infected my blood, and my blood reinfected the lymph nodes. That started the lymphoma," Marshall said, tears pouring from his eyes. "So, do you see, Fiona, why happily ever after is impossible with me? I'll die before you, way earlier than I should. I'll die before we have kids, and if we ever do have kids, they'll be little, Fiona. Really, really little. No matter how you slice it, I'd do nothing but ruin any chances of a normal life. I mean, I'm already close to the beginnings of stage 3, and there are only 4 stages. This can kill me, and it's trying to. I wanted to push you away because I thought it would hurt less for me to break up with you than for you to watch me die." Fiona just stared at him. "You're an idiot. That's like a double slap to me. I'm hurt because you tried dumping me, and I'm hurt because you're hurting. You pushing me away and trying to distance yourself won't make me love you any less, Marshall. We're supposed to deal with stuff like this together. We're supposed to work through it together. When you get sick, it's my job to take care of you. And when I'm afraid, you comfort me. When you're scared, I'm here for you. So don't you ever dare think of shutting me out again, Marshall, or I swear to God I'll beat you to death," the blonde shouted, now pacing on the floor in his room. "Don't you ever do this again. Don't you ever try and push me away because I love you. I'll always love you, and nothing will ever change that. Don't you dare underestimate my love for you, Marshall. Now we'll get through this, and you'll get better because you did the last time, and I know you'll—" Fiona was cut off as Marshall kissed her once again. Wrapping her arms around his neck, Fiona kissed him back, standing on her toes to do so as he held her tightly against him. I'm so sorry, Fiona," Marshall said, looking miserable. "You better be, Marshall. I swear to God, you better be sorry for breaking my heart like that," Marshall said, kissing him again as he held her tightly. "I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you. I promise. I promise." Good, because I'm more than mad at you, she said softly. I really, really am so sorry, he said, leaning his forehead against hers, closing his eyes as Fiona blinked in concern, immediately making him sit down on the bed. Marshall was burning up. Fiona didn't tell FP when she sent him back without her. All she told him was that they'd solved their problem and that she and Marshall was okay. Were okay. She gave him gas money and just like that, sent him on his way. She didn't tell her parents either, just that she and Marshall got into a fight, a simple misunderstanding, that they needed to talk through and that all was well and that he would bring her home later. She was going to leave it up to Marshall to tell everyone, if he wanted them to know or not. It was his choice. Fiona knew it would upset them. His mother would be heartbroken, and their friends would be crushed, but it wasn't her place to say anything as much as she wanted to. He'd made her promise to keep quiet about knowing, and as much as it killed her to do so, Fiona had agreed. She lay there quietly listening to his soft breaths as Marshall slept, her hand running through his hair. He looked exhausted, so very tired, and despite their friends being here, and his mom several cities over, he was here alone. And remembering how it had been the last time when he'd been so sick that he just slept on the couch all day and could barely move, Fiona couldn't let that happen, him being alone in that state again, and she knew that with her classes and work, she couldn't stay here, so the only logical choice was to bring him with her. Climbing off the bed, Fiona dug through his closet, finding a duffel bag, and began pulling out jeans and t-shirts, tank tops and underwear and socks and tossing them inside. Grabbing his guitar case, she opened it and put his father's guitar inside, and looking, she found the music book she knew Marshall was currently using and put it in the duffel bag. Walking around the house, Fiona looked for anything else he might need, and opening the fridge, she was in shock. Marshall hadn't lied when he said he'd been barely eating. The milk was sour and the majority of the food was both untouched and moldy, so she promptly cleaned it out and dumped everything that needed to be trashed. On her cleaning spree, Fiona spotted several prescriptions that had yet to be dropped off, and grabbing Marshall's car keys, she drove down to the pharmacy to drop them off, picking up cold medicine, some honey, and tea. The pharmacist said that his medicine would be ready in an hour, so checking out with her supplies, Fiona drove to the gas station across the street, topping off the gas tank before driving back to Marshall's house. It was only at a half tank, but she figured it would be better to be safe than sorry. He was still asleep on her arrival, and glancing at the clock, she was surprised to see that it was nearing 11 o'clock at night. Picking up her phone, she called the house, and moments later her mother picked up on the phone, sounding worried. Hello? Hello? Hi, Mom. Fiona, it's so late. Are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. I'm totally okay. Marshall's sick, so I'm keeping an eye on him. All right, sweetie. Will you be back tonight? I have to be. I have school tomorrow. Just drive very carefully, Fiona. Don't speed because you're going to be late for curfew. Just call in every now and again. Okay, Mom. I'll see you in a little while. Okay, Fiona. See you in a bit. I'll leave the door unlocked. Okay, Mom. Thank you. After exchanging goodbyes, Fiona hung up and went upstairs with the cold medicine. Marshall was still asleep and looking feverish, so opening the box, Fiona pulled out the small cup included and poured the measured amount into it, setting it to the side as she woke him up gently, rubbing his cheek. Marshall's face was clammy, flushed, and he was more than warm. She watched as his eyes opened slowly. I got you some medicine for your fever, she said, showing him the cup and holding it to his lips as he swallowed it without complaint. I dropped off your prescriptions, and I'm getting ready to get them, and then we're leaving, okay? Fiona said softly, wiping the red syrup off his lips. Where are we going? Now Fiona smiled. Well, you're sick, and I have school and work, so I can't stay here, so I'm bringing you with me. I already have your stuff packed in the car. There's no talking your way out of it, either. I love you, so let me do this, please. She watched as a flurry of emotions flashed through his eyes. Worry, concern, fear, before finally a reluctant acceptance. Okay. Leaning down, Fiona kissed his forehead. I'm going to take care of you and everything's going to be okay. I'll make sure everything is okay. I know you will, Marshall said quietly, pushing himself up as Fiona supported him together, making their way to the car. When's your next doctor's appointment? Next week on Wednesday at 3 in the afternoon, Marshall said as they exited the house into the warm September evening. Marshall sat in the passenger seat, and closing his eyes, he leaned his seat back, letting out a breath. It took Fiona several minutes before she got in the car, starting it and heading down the street. The blonde glanced over at the first stop sign they reached and blinked in surprise. Marshall was already asleep. She left him in the car, running in to get his prescriptions, and on the way out, she bought a cloth and a bottle of water, making a wet pack for his forehead before making her way back to the house. She'd been driven back and forth what felt like 100 times, but this was her first time driving herself back to her house, and her second time driving on the highway. At the halfway point, she called her parents' house again just to check in, and only an hour after that she pulled off the highway, driving through the city streets before pulling into the driveway. Fiona left everything in the car, and going to Marshall's side, she opened the door, gently waking him. "Hey, sleepyhead, come on, let's go inside," Fiona said softly, helping him up as they made their way inside the house and up the stairs. They walked to the end of the hall, entering Fiona's room, much to Marshall's surprise. "Not the family room?" he asked, flopping on the bed. And taking a deep breath, relishing in the fact that he could smell her everywhere. "No, I need to keep an eye on you, and my bed's comfier than the couch," Fiona said with a smile. "I'm gonna run downstairs and bring your stuff up, okay? Wait here and we can get into some pajamas," Fiona said, walking from the room and heading back to the car. Marshall waited, feeling himself falling asleep again before jerking awake when the door opened. It was Fiona hauling in his duffel bag from forever ago and his guitar case. She dug through the bag, pulling out night pants, and helped Marshall change before dressing in her own pajamas and climbing in the bed with him. "I'm tired," he mumbled sleepily. "I know, Marsh," the blonde whispered. "I feel like crap, too." "I know, Marshall, I know," Fiona said softly, running her fingers through his hair. It was nearing 3 in the morning now, and although she was tired, she wanted to be sure he was okay. It had only taken him a few minutes to fall asleep, and closing her eyes, Fiona settled down next to Marshall, feeling as Kate hopped on the bed and curled up behind her legs, purring the entire time. Alright, that is the end of the chapter, and there's some review responses here, but first I'm gonna read the author's note. "So I'm betting you all are mad at me, but as previously stated, this will not end up like TFIOS, so have faith in my writings, will ya?" TFIOS. What is that? Is that, what is that like? What is TFIOS? Is that an acronym for one of this person's other books or something? So, ooh. He says next chapter will be Finn and Ember. They haven't had any screen time, so to speak, lately, lol. I'm so happy that my story is your favorite story ever. FP romance indeed, but is Angel bringing him down a road that's too hot for our Flame Prince to handle? Together we'll find out. I had so much fun coming up with reactions for all of those Disney movies, lol. Thanks tons for all of your reviews, and especially the concern and support you put into them. They mean quite a lot to me. And there's some other reviews. This is all interesting. Okay, so there's some reviews. Oh, okay, there's one about his nephew who was very, very sick at one point, and to that person he says, I've missed your reviews, and my nephew is doing wonderfully. Oh my god, I'm so happy to hear that. Oh, he's still off the wall though, but hey, it's what little ones do, and I'm beyond used to it, lol. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Okay, so, oh my god. His nephew, if you don't remember in a previous book review, I think just in the video that I put up, the like a few days ago, we talked about how his nephew was sick in one of the author's notes, and now his nephew is feeling a lot better. So, Bubba only thought he was doing what was right. I think he deserves a second chance because he is a nice boy, and I hope he and Marshall can be friends too. That'd be cool. Okay, so next chapter we'll have some Finn and Ember, and we'll soon be having our Simon chapter. Sweet. Okay, I miss him. I miss all the well, okay. I know this is about Fiona and Marshall mainly. Also, I'm kind of working on my own fan fiction at the moment. And when I say at the moment, I mean I haven't updated it in a few weeks. But I wrote the first part of chapter 1, which is hardly anything. Like maybe a few hundred words, that's what it is. Okay, I'm gonna go on and record a couple more chapters because it is still over an hour until I'm gonna text my mom to call her. So it's not even it's literally not even 8 o'clock yet. So I'm gonna go on and record a couple more chapters, and I'm not gonna read all the review responses because there's just so many. But those were the few that I wanted to highlight. So um, this is the end of this video for now. I'm just gonna do this as one chapter, one video. And then maybe I'll put 2 chapters in a video in the future. But for now, just one chapter, one video. I love each and every one of you guys. Please don't forget to always be yourself. And you are valid, and I will see you all in the next video. Oh, and by the way, I am going to, I forget what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, oh yeah, I'm bringing you the next chapter probably either later today or tomorrow. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. I'm gonna see how long this takes to edit, and I have to do the other thing. I have to export it, I think it's called, and there was another word for it, but I can't remember it. So if I can't export this and upload it on time, and I'm gonna see how much time I have left, and then that's gonna depend on whether you guys are getting the next chapter today or tomorrow. I'm definitely wanting to upload this one today. I'm going to do that right after this, and then I'm going to go on and read a couple more chapters as well. I love each and every one of you guys. Please don't forget to always be yourselves. You are valid, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.